Hello and welcome. Today we're digging into Pan American Silver's fourth quarter earnings report for 2025. And let me tell you, it is a wild ride. This is a story about perfect timing, some really smart strategy, and numbers that are just staggering. Let's get right into it. So, you always hear about companies having a good quarter, but what does a perfect quarter really look like, especially in an industry as tough as silver mining? Well, Pan American Silver just gave us a masterclass. It looks a little something like this, a record-shattering 1.2 times billion dollars in revenue for just one quarter. Now, that's not just a small increase. We're talking a massive 44.7% jump from the same time last year. That's a huge signal that something fundamental just changed for them. And all that revenue wasn't just for show. It flowed right down to the bottom line. Net earnings clocked in at $452 million, which absolutely blew past what analysts were expecting. Just incredible profitability. Okay, and then there's this number, free cash flow. This is the one to watch. It's the actual spendable cash the company has left after paying for absolutely everything. All the digging, all the salaries, you name it. $553 million. A number that high just screams financial health and gives them a ton of firepower for the future. You know, the president and CEO, Michael Steinman, really said it all himself. Pan American delivered record financial results, reflecting strong operating margins. He pretty much nailed it. And this perfectly sets up our next big question. How on earth did they pull this off? So what was the secret sauce? Well, it wasn't just luck. It was a powerful 1-2 punch, a combination of two key drivers that came together to create this perfect storm of success. So here are the two engines that drove this train. First, you had a fantastic market. Silver and gold prices were just soaring, and that's like free money for a miner. Just look at this. Their average selling price for an ounce of silver was nearly double what it was just a year before. The second piece, and this is the really clever part, was a strategic move. They bought the Juanicipio mine, a total rock star of an asset that immediately cranked up their production and lowered their overall costs. Now, to really get why that was so brilliant, we need to quickly talk about this term, all-in sustaining costs, or AISC. Just think of it as the true cost to get 1 ounce of silver out of the ground and ready to sell. It includes everything. It's the single best way to measure how efficient a mine is. The lower your AISC, the more money you make. Simple as that. And that's where we see what I'm calling the Juanicipio effect. Right out of the gate, the company said the mine performed better than expected. Because it's such a low-cost, efficient operation, adding it to their portfolio was like adding a superstar player to the team. It immediately dragged the whole company's average cost down, making every single ounce they mined everywhere that much more profitable. What an acquisition. Okay, so that explains their incredible 2025. But a great company is always looking ahead, right? So let's check out their plan for the future, because it involves a really big pivot on one of their most important projects. The project is called the La Colorada Skarn. And before you zone out at the geology term, a skarn is basically a type of rock formation that's often a treasure chest, just packed with valuable metals. And at their La Colorada mine, Pan American found a massive one, and it's full of high-grade silver. This is where their strategy gets really interesting. The old plan was to go big, a huge bulk mining operation that would have cost a ton of money up front to get to the lower-grade stuff first. But the new plan? It's all about being phased and focused. They're going to start smaller and surgically target those brand new, high-grade zones they found. That means way less upfront cost and much higher profits faster. It is just a much, much smarter way to do it. And listen, this isn't just some idea they're kicking around. It's already in motion. The big rethink started in 2025, and they're planning to release a full technical report on this new, smarter approach in the second quarter of 2026. You can bet a lot of people will be watching for that report. All right, now let's look at their forecast for 2026, because at first glance, it's a little confusing. They're predicting higher production, but also higher costs. So what's going on there? First, the good news. They're planning to mine a lot more silver, guiding for 25 to 27 million ounces in 2026. That's a really healthy 14% jump, and a big part of that is getting to run that new Juanicipio mine for a full year. But then you see this. Their all-in sustaining costs, remember that key efficiency number, are also predicted to go up quite a bit. So wait a second, does this mean they're suddenly getting less efficient? Not even close. The CEO explains it perfectly. Some of their costs, like royalties they pay, are directly linked to the price of silver. So the costs are only going up because the price of silver is so high, which means their actual profits are expanding like crazy. It's what you call a high-class problem. So the picture is looking pretty amazing, right? They are swimming in cash, they have a smart growth strategy, but there is one big question mark, a shadow that hangs over this whole story, and its name is the Escobal mine. Escobal is in Guatemala, and it is a world-class silver deposit, an absolute monster of a mine. It holds a ton of value for Pan American, but there's one huge problem. It's not running. The operation is totally suspended. Here's the situation. The mine is shut down because of a very important ongoing consultation process with the government and the local community. And Pan American has been very clear about this. There is no timeline for when this will be resolved or if the mine will ever restart. And that leaves the future of this incredibly valuable asset completely up in the air, which is a significant risk you have to consider. Which leaves us right here. You have a company that's firing on all cylinders. They're generating record amounts of cash, they have a clear, de-risked growth strategy, and a new star mine that's exceeding all expectations. The only piece missing from this beautiful puzzle is Escobal. So the question is, with everything else going so right, is solving the Escobal puzzle the final step for Pan American Silver to unlock its ultimate potential?